Imagine being handpicked from a crowded foster home, not as a beloved daughter, but as a living experiment. A tool to teach someone what pain really feels like because they can't feel it themselves. And what if those lessons started innocently, but quickly turned into public humiliations that scarred you forever? That's the nightmare I lived through with the Harrisons. My name is Lily, and this is how I became their daughter's pain puppet, and how I finally turned the tables. I was just 14 when the Harrisons chose me. I'd bounced between group homes for years, abandoned by my birth parents, always the kid no one wanted to keep. But the Harrisons, they seemed like a dream. Mr. Harrison was a successful businessman with a warm smile, and Mrs. Harrison baked cookies that smelled like heaven. They said they needed help with their daughter, Evelyn, who had this rare condition, congenital insensitivity to pain. Born completely numb to any physical sensation. Sounds like a superpower, right? Until you hear how she'd burn her hands on stoves without flinching, or break bones jumping from heights, clueless about the damage. The first week felt like paradise. A big house in the suburbs, my own room with actual posters on the walls, meals that weren't from a cafeteria tray. I thought, finally, a real family. Mrs. Harrison even sat me down one evening with that sweet motherly smile. Lily, we need to talk about Evelyn's condition and how you can help her understand consequences. I figured it meant being a big sister, talking things out, sharing stories. Boy, was I wrong? It started so small. Evelyn was fascinated by something as simple as a paper cup. What does it feel like? She'd ask, her eyes wide with genuine curiosity. Mrs. Harrison grabbed my hand right there in the kitchen and made a tiny slice on my finger while Evelyn watched. See how she flinches? That's your body screaming, stop! It's what keeps us safe. I bit my lip, trying not to cry. It stung, but more than that, it felt wrong. Evelyn just tilted her head, confused. Why does it make her eyes water? It's just a sensation, isn't it? That was my first taste of their twisted education. But as the days went on, the lessons didn't stay small, and soon I discovered I wasn't the first girl they'd used like this. You won't believe what I found hidden in their house, or how they made sure no one would ever believe us. As the days turned into weeks, those small lessons started to snowball into something much darker. The Harrisons were careful at first. No marks that anyone could see, nothing that would raise red flags with social workers. But Evelyn's curiosity, it was like a fire they kept feeding, and I was the fuel. One evening after dinner, Evelyn wanted to know what a real burn felt like. Mrs. Harrison didn't hesitate. She heated a spoon over the stove and pressed it against my arm while Evelyn leaned in close. Watch her pull away. That's instinct. Protecting you, Mrs. Harrison said, her voice so calm, like she was teaching a cooking class. The pain shot through me, but I held back the tears. Evelyn just stared, fascinated. Does it really hurt that much? Show me again. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just one time, but it wasn't. The lessons escalated. Pinches turned into slaps on my thighs under the table during family meals. Ice cubes held against my skin until it went numb. Then hot water to demonstrate contrast. And the worst part? They started making it public. At a neighbourhood barbecue, Mr. Harrison accidentally tripped me into the pool, fully clothed in front of all their friends, to show Evelyn what shock and embarrassment felt like. See how her face turns red? That's humiliation, honey. It stops people from taking risks. The guests laughed it off as clumsy kid stuff, but I saw the knowing glint in Mrs. Harrison's eyes. I was dripping wet, humiliated, and Evelyn, she was taking notes in her head. You think that's bad? It got worse when school started. I threw myself into classes, hoping for some escape. My teacher, Ms. Patel, even suggested advanced courses because I was acing everything. But the Harrisons twisted that too. During a parent-teacher conference, right in front of the whole room of parents and kids, Mrs. Harrison made me demonstrate academic stress by reciting a poem while she pinched my arm harder and harder. See, Evelyn, that's what failure feels like. Pressure building until it hurts. The room went silent. People whispered. I wanted the ground to swallow me. From then on, kids at school called me the flincher. Public shame became their favourite tool. But the real horror hit when I stumbled on their secret. One afternoon, while fixing Evelyn's computer, she'd asked me to because it was glitching, I found a hidden folder, hundreds of videos meticulously labelled. Emma demonstrates sprain response. Sophia shows emotional bruising from isolation. Girls just like me, foster sisters who'd come before. I clicked one, hand shaking. There was Emma, maybe 13, crying as Mr. Harrison held her hand over a candle flame. "This is what pain teaches," he said in the video. They'd cycled through at least 4 girls over the years, each one used up and sent away when they got too difficult. And the motive? Buried in the files were payment records. The Harrisons were raking in triple the foster stipend because of Evelyn's special needs. We weren't family, we were a business expense, broken kids they could profit from while educating their daughter. I couldn't confront them yet, I needed a plan. Meanwhile, Evelyn and I started bonding in secret. She'd sneak into my room at night, not for more lessons, but to talk. "Why do you cry so much?" she'd ask, genuinely puzzled. I showed her videos online, not of pain, but of real accidents, paralysed survivors sharing stories. "Fear of consequences keeps us safe, not just pain," I told her. For the first time, she seemed to get it. We watched documentaries on her condition, read articles about empathy without experiments. Evelyn absorbed it all, her eyes lighting up differently, not with fascination for suffering, but understanding. But the Harrisons noticed the change. Mrs. Harrison hovered like a hawk, interrupting our talks with pointed comments. "Stick to practical demonstrations, Lily. Words aren't enough." They started scheduling Evelyn's days packed with activities, piano, tutoring, anything to keep us apart. One night, Evelyn whispered to me, "Why do they need to hurt you? Can't we just learn from books?" Her parents overheard and exploded. Mr. Harrison grabbed my wrist, twisting just enough to hurt without bruising. "You're confusing her. Remember your place, or back to the group home you go." I stared him down, finding strength I didn't know I had. "Anything's better than being your puppet." They upped the ante when Evelyn turned 16 and wanted to learn to drive. "How will I know if I'm hurt in a crash?" she asked. Mr. Harrison looked right at me. "We'll demonstrate tomorrow at the community centre in front of everyone." That night, I lay awake, heart pounding. A public fender bender simulation, whiplash on display. I was done. But what I didn't know was that Evelyn had started recording everything on her phone, and the truth was about to explode. The Harrisons' plan for Evelyn's driving lesson was their cruelest yet, a public spectacle designed to break me completely. They arranged it at the community centre safety fair where families gathered for demos on car accidents. Mr. Harrison had it all set up, a rigged simulator that would jolt me like a minor crash right in front of a crowd. "You'll show Evelyn whiplash, the pain of impact," he said casually over breakfast like it was no big deal. "People will think it's educational." I could already picture it, me strapped in, jerking violently, screaming in fake agony while strangers watched and whispered. The ultimate public humiliation, turning my body into their sideshow. My stomach churned with rage and fear. This could leave real bruises, real trauma. But that's when something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to be their dummy anymore. That night, while they slept, I crept back to Evelyn's computer. Heart pounding, I copied everything. The videos of past girls, the payment stubs proving their sick profit scheme, onto a hidden flash drive tucked in my shoe. Evidence, real power. But I needed more than that. I needed an ally. The next morning, as I cleaned a practice cut on Evelyn's hand she hadn't even noticed, I whispered the truth. "Your parents aren't teaching you. They're hurting us for money." I showed her one video, just one. Sophia sobbing as her arm was twisted. Evelyn's face crumpled. For someone who couldn't feel physical pain, the emotional hit was like a tidal wave. This is wrong," she murmured, horror in her eyes. And in that moment, she chose sides. But the Harrisons sensed the shift. Mrs. Harrison cornered me in the hallway that afternoon, her sweet mask gone. "You're poisoning her mind. We can replace you. Plenty of broken girls out there." She slapped me across the face, hard enough to sting, but not mark. I didn't flinch. I'd survived worse. What she didn't know? Evelyn had followed us, phone in hand, recording the whole thing. She saw her mother's true colours, the venom behind the smiles. That night, Evelyn slipped into my room trembling. "I've been filming everything," she confessed. "Not for lessons, for proof." Together, we pored over more files, notes on escalating demos, plans for something permanent, like a controlled fracture to show bone pain. They were building to scar me forever, all while pocketing foster cash. The emotional peak crashed over us like a storm. Evelyn confronted her parents at dinner, demanding answers about the other girls. Where's Sophia now? Why did she leave? The Harrisons squirmed, spinning lies about ungrateful kids aging out. But Evelyn had researched. Those girls were too young, too damaged to just vanish. Lily taught me more in days than you have in years, she fired back. Mr. Harrison's face twisted in fury, but Evelyn stood firm, her inability to feel pain making her fearless in ways they never expected. We were a team now, 2 girls against their twisted empire, but the Harrisons weren't done. They announced a family trip without me, planning to ship me off to another home while regrouping. We had hours to act, evidence in hand, but they were closing in fast, ready to destroy it all. We sprang into action, disabling their hidden cameras, packing essentials, contacting a lawyer with Evelyn's secret trust fund from her grandparents. As their car pulled into the driveway early, headlights glaring, Evelyn stepped between me and them. "We know everything," she said, voice steady. "Sign the papers, or the world sees your lessons." The standoff was electric, threats, pleas, manipulation flying. Mrs. Harrison lunged for Evelyn's phone. Mr. Harrison spewed venom about my troubled influence, but we held the line, evidence ready to unleash. They backed down, agreeing to let us go, but with conditions that screamed trap. We drove into the night, hearts racing, knowing this was just the start of the real fight. Evelyn and I sped away from the Harrisons' house, the flash drive of evidence burning a hole in my pocket. We had their videos, their payment records, proof of years of abuse disguised as education. But freedom wasn't ours yet. The Harrisons agreed to sign emancipation papers and let me go, but their conditions screamed control. No police, no spreading their business around town. We nodded, playing along, but we both knew this was a temporary truce. With Evelyn's trust fund, we contacted a lawyer named Ms. Torres, a fierce advocate for foster kids. She met us at a diner 2 towns over, her eyes widening as we laid out the truth. "This is bigger than you two," she said, copying our evidence. "We're taking them down for every girl they hurt." Our first stop was survival. Evelyn withdrew cash from her trust fund, untouchable by her parents thanks to her grandparents' foresight. We rented a tiny apartment above a family restaurant owned by Mr. Chen, a kind man who didn't ask too many questions. It was small, barely 2 rooms, but it felt like a fortress compared to the Harrisons' house of horrors. We fell into a routine. I studied for my GED, Evelyn tackled online classes, and we kept Ms. Torres updated, but the Harrisons weren't done. They launched a smear campaign calling Evelyn's school to paint her as unstable, whispering to neighbours that I was a manipulative runaway. They even tried freezing her trust fund, but it was Loctite. Every move they made only dug their hole deeper. The real battle came in court. Ms. Torres filed for Evelyn's emancipation and submitted our evidence for a criminal investigation. The hearing was packed. Social workers, foster advocates, even a local reporter. The Harrisons showed up with a slick lawyer, spinning tales of concerned parents helping their daughter's condition. But Ms. Torres was relentless. She played the videos. Emma crying over a burn, Sophia trembling in isolation, me wincing in that humiliating community centre demo. She showed bank records of their inflated foster payments, a pattern of targeting girls like me, troubled backgrounds, no one to believe us. Evelyn took the stand, her voice steady despite her parents' glares. "Lily taught me empathy, not pain," she said. "You used her and the others for profit." The courtroom went silent. You could feel the outrage ripple through. The judge's ruling was a hammer. She granted Evelyn's emancipation, calling her more capable than most adults. She banned the Harrisons from ever fostering again, ordered restitution for their victims, and referred their case for criminal charges. Attempted break-in footage from Mr. Chen's restaurant sealed their fate, caught red-handed with lock-picking tools. Their perfect facade shattered. Their house went up for sale. Their friends abandoned them. Their names became synonymous with abuse in online court records. We heard they moved to a nowhere town, working low-end jobs, their empire of cruelty reduced to nothing. Freedom wasn't just leaving their house, it was rebuilding ourselves. I aced my GED, earning college credits and a scholarship to study psychology, turning my pain into purpose for other foster kids. Evelyn dove into medicine, focusing on ethical ways to understand conditions like hers. We connected with past victims. Emma, now a nurse. Sophia, running a small business. Together, we started a support group for foster survivors, sharing stories, strength, and scars. The lesson? Pain might teach limits, but empathy builds power. The Harrisons thought they could break us, but we turned their cruelty into our triumph. Standing in that courtroom, watching the Harrisons shrink under the truth, I realised something. We weren't just surviving their nightmare, we were thriving beyond it. No one could take that from us. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button for more tales of drama and triumph on Hub-fullstory. Comment below. What's the most inspiring comeback you've seen? Like and share to spread resilience.